Hello, and welcome to the Closer's Playbook, a podcast about selling your services as a freelancer. I'm Tyler Poole. I'm here with my co-host, Pete Beber.
How's it going, Tyler?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. You guys don't know this, but we took a couple weeks off of recording, and we're back and ready for some more. Today, we wanted to talk about client communication.
Yeah.
Pete, what do you think of when you hear client communication?
So, client communication, oftentimes poor client communication can lead to lost clients.
Yep.
Right. It could lead to either a customer canceling, a client canceling an agreement. It could lead to them not renewing with you, finding somebody else. And it could lead to you losing the opportunity to get referrals from clients. So when I hear client communication, I'm guilty of, from time to time, poor client communication. So I own that. Nobody's perfect.
Right. 100%.
Especially not me. So, but, what we were talking about before we hit record is just like how some things that we could do to just make sure we're having the appropriate type of communication level with our customers.
Right. So how do you decide what an appropriate level of communication is with your client?
Yeah, so a lot of times it's just asking,
okay,
what are your expectations? Talking through, here's how I typically communicate with my clients. Is there anything? What are your thoughts on that? Mm-hmm. Anything you'd like to see differently?
Yep. Do you prefer email or do you prefer phone calls? Do you let your clients text you?
Yeah.
All of the above?
It depends. Text for me is usually a client I've been working with for a while. We've become kind of friends. Okay. I don't usually like to operate text with clients.
I was gonna say it pisses me off when clients text me.
But if you're okay with it, like I wouldn't suggest text because I'm not.
I agree with you completely.
Yeah, but there's a few of my clients who I could text right now about anything non-work related, and occasionally something like, "Hey, just needed to get a hold of you real quick." But we typically don't use it. Other people, though, they love text, and I know of like executives who will say, "Hey, just text me if something important comes up." Yeah, because they're not managing their email.
Fair enough. For me, I feel like it's not professional enough. I don't use text. In fact, I have tried to lead clients away from, like, a client will text me and say, "Hey, I need an update on whatever." I'm like, shoot me an email to remind me, and I will respond to it before the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that I think leads to another good point about client communication is, when you're communicating with your clients, set a standard for how quickly you need to get back to them.
Yeah.
We were talking about a freelancer that one of us is working with who didn't get back for 3 days after we sent an email, and we were, what is going on? Yeah. If that person had texted back or emailed back and just said, "Super busy today, I will have an answer for you," or "I will do some research and I will have an answer for you at X amount of time." Doesn't even matter what X was.
Could be by Friday, like that was Monday. The initial outreach was made. It could have been like, "I'll have something for you by the end of the week or end of the day Friday." Train. I think this maybe isn't the best way to say it, but like training your clients on how to communicate with you. Is key. I know some people who like to say we're not saving lives here. Some of you maybe are, so I don't want to assume we're working with systems or organizations that are. But we're not in the ER here.
Sure.
We're not getting in and doing brain surgery typically as a freelancer. So, although if you are, great job.
Right. Thank you.
So
hopefully I'll never need your services.
Yeah. But you can set that expectation even right when you're starting to work with somebody. So we talked a lot about proposals, contracts, things like that. You can lay it out. Often referred to as an SLA or a service level agreement in a lot of service organizations, and say, you can expect a response back Monday through Friday between these working hours within 2 hours or within 24 hours. Response. That doesn't mean you always have to have an answer. Mm-hmm. So it might mean that you say, hey, don't have an answer for you right now. I'm going to dig into it, and then be clear when you'll have an update for them.
Yeah. And
one thing I want to say about that, it doesn't mean you have to have the answer when you say. If you say, let me look into it, I'll get back to you before the end of the day tomorrow. At the end of the day tomorrow, you could just say, hey, this has taken a lot more effort than I realized, so I'm not going to have an answer for you today. Here's when I expect to have something for you.
But at least you have addressed whatever question or concern they have. Mm-hmm. You've told them you're working on it. So the big thing about follow-up, the big thing that most people want is, they've spent, let's say, $500, $1,000, $2,000.
Tens of thousands, potentially.
10,000, right. On your service. They want to know that you are paying attention to them, that their money is being well spent, that you're on the ball. And so by following up, by answering, yep, don't know, but I'll get back with you, at least you're putting them in the loop. You're keeping them appraised of the situation. And when a lot of money is involved, that's maybe the biggest thing, is they just want to know what's going on.
Yeah. And one thing I think of with client communication, there was a study on this. I can't remember who did the study. I'd probably butcher it anyways. But the gist of it was, think about if you go out to a restaurant, and let's say it's a nice restaurant, and you're celebrating something, okay? Maybe you're celebrating closing a deal with a client.
There you go.
And you go out, and there's maybe you've got a half a dozen people at your table, right? And the waiter or waitress comes around and starts taking orders, and they're not writing anything down. The study said, I believe that impacts tips. It also creates anxiety at the table because everybody thinks they're going to screw up. Did they get that? I asked for it to be this, this way. Did they get that? I asked for no whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I have a food allergy, or I have a serious allergy where I can't have this, or I'll, go into anaphylactic shock. That is part of the communication, right? When the waitress or waiter writes it down, you can see, okay, they could be doodling on there. You have no idea, but you feel like, oh, okay, this person heard me.
Right.
And I feel like I'm going to get what I ordered.
I don't know what study you're referring to, but I am a super picky eater. So if a waiter or a waitress is not writing down my order, I will make a comment sometime during the ordering process, like towards the end of my order, where I'm like, oh, did I mention I wanted? Yeah. And I will repeat whatever my request is. Like, did I mention I don't want tomatoes? And they're like, yep, got it. I'm like, okay, we've covered this twice now.
Yeah. So perfect example. And so if a client just doesn't hear from you, then they're wondering, did Tyler even get this?
Sure.
And then that's going to create some level of anxiety. Mm-hmm. What I want to accomplish when working with a client is that they're not going to feel anxious. That they're going to be like, oh, I know that Pete's got this. Yep. And so my first response to a lot of questions is not always, here's the answer.
Right.
It's, hey, let me look into that. Right. Or let me go talk to my team.
Yep.
And I'll get back to you by this date.
Sure.
So it's communicating that hey, first step is I heard you.
Right.
And then the next is the follow through.
Yep.
But you don't have to have the answer right away. You don't have to respond. Quite honestly, I don't have alerts on email. I am not in my inbox all day long. I check it a few times a day, and then I get back to people on it. If somebody really needs to get a hold of me, I'm going to see it within a couple hours. Mm-hmm. I don't know of the work that I do what needs to be fixed within that. Set expectations up front. Here's how I typically communicate. Is there anything you'd like to see different? Mm-hmm. And I like to ask that because, a lot of times people will be like, no, that's fine. Mm-hmm. And it's not.
Right.
So, you don't have to agree to everything. They're like, hey, I need a response within 30 minutes. You can say, if you're looking for a response within 30 minutes, I might not be the right person because I'm focused on doing the work at hand. And I check my email and voicemail throughout the day,
Yep.
but I can't guarantee you that I'm not going to be heads down getting stuff done for you.
Yeah. Something I have put more recently, something that I've been starting to put into proposals or starting to cover with potential clients is I will say something along the lines of, so I block out my time. So if you don't hear from me for an hour or two, it's because I'm working on a block of something else. I'm not checking my email or I'm not responding to email. I will always get back to you before the end of the day. And that's a policy that I've had for a couple months now, 6 months now. And it works really well because there's a lot of times where I get an email where somebody says, hey, did you see this traffic drop? Or we got 20 new backlinks. Where'd they come from? Or whatever the thing is. Yeah. And I know the answer, but for me to stop whatever I'm doing and jump to replying to that email kills my productivity. So I just have told my clients, you will hear from me by the end of the day. I work in blocks, and that also it instills a confidence with them where they're like, okay, he is getting stuff done, and he's got a system to get stuff done. Yeah. I've had at least 2 clients tell me they like the fact they know that I'm on the ball. Yeah, they hear from me. It's not like I'm disappearing for 3 days.
Right. So so you're setting proper expectations up front. You're just letting them know, hey, here's how I work. Right. It's not even asking. It's telling them, here's how I work. Right. And I work this way because it's in the best interest of my clients, of which I would like you to be, or right. which you are, right? Right. So that first and foremost, that's clear communication right up front, setting expectations.
And one of our first episodes was qualifying customers. And so this is a great way. If they need a response from me in 5 minutes, it qualified out. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't want to work there.
Now you might be able to charge a lot more. So if they're like, I need a response within 30 minutes or 60 minutes, you can say, sure, that level of focus on just you, I charge X amount more for that. Right. If you're comfortable with that. Just be clear.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, it's completely reasonable when you say, if I'm going to drop whatever I'm working on for other clients and pick up your problem or your situation, I probably wouldn't say problem, but and handle whatever situation's arisen with your site or your account. Yeah. It needs to come with something because they're paying money too. Right. You know? So it's not unreasonable to set that expectation.
Yeah. Well, one other thing. So I like that you say at the end of the day, because that gives you can block that time off. And what I find too is when I just block off time for emails, I fire through emails. Mm-hmm. And so if the expectation is that you'll respond, again, it doesn't mean you need to have an answer, but you could say, hey, I'll have an answer for you on that by the end of the day tomorrow. Yep. And the customer knows, okay, they're going to work on it for me tomorrow. Yep. And blocking that time off creates a sort of a ritual for you, right? It's every day. Mm-hmm. I know that at 4:30, let's say, sure. I'm checking my inbox and I'm at least letting people know when I'll have an answer, when they'll hear back from me.
It has nothing to do with client communication, but that's also a nice way for those of you freelancers out there who have trouble working all day and not knowing where your endpoint is. I know that my endpoint is when I close my email. Yeah. Once my email is closed, I'm done working for the day. Yeah. And it's a nice way to switch off. I mean, my office is right next to my living room, which is right next to my bedroom. It's a nice segue to say, okay, work's done for the day. Yeah,
that's a good point. So I think, this came up because we were talking about an issue where it's like, why are we not hearing back? We don't need an answer. We just need to know that so there's this level of anxiety when you're not communicating well. And again, just, hey, I'm working on it. Hey, I heard you. Let me get back to you. the more clear you can be on, do you need additional information, right? You can ask that. Hey, let me look into that, but before I do, I need to know X, right?
It's an easy way to set yourself apart from other freelancers, other service providers, whatever, and keep clients and do a great job for them. Build a rapport and a trust with them just by clear communication, responding back.
And one thing that is helpful as well, just like that server that we talked about earlier, just repeat back to them. Okay, so I will get you an answer on X by 2:00 tomorrow, or by the end of the day tomorrow. That way they know you heard. And if you didn't repeat it back, the way they were thinking of it, then they'll correct you there, and then you're not wasting your time looking into something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so set expectations. Be clear. Respond in a timely fashion, at least what you said you would respond in, and then give. If it's not just giving them an answer and you need to do more. Be clear with what next steps are.
Perfect.
Yeah. It'll remove a lot of anxiety from your clients. People are more willing to recommend somebody who they're comfortable with, who they've had a good experience with, and communication is a big part of creating an environment that is less anxious and that is more pleasant to be around.
Yep.
Anything else?
No. Well, that covers it.
All right. So I guess if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast,
please do.
We would love it if you did. Yeah. Wherever you get your podcasts, or if you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love to have you. And feel free to leave comments.
We will get back to you.
Yeah. Eventually.
All right. Talk to you guys next week.
Was that clear?
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.